Hi, my name is Allison, and this is the Colorwork Yarn podcast. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry with the same name, Colorwork Yarn. And I would love for you to add me on both of those places, and we can get to know each other there. This is a podcast mostly about knitting, but if there are other crafting adventures that I'm currently wandering down, I will share those as well. So today I have some projects to share with you that I will be sending with my mom to go over to Austria for my sister. My sister's about to have a baby. So I really took about the last couple of months or so making projects that would be for the new baby mostly. The new baby's getting three projects. And then their older child, Oscar, who will be 3 in January. And then also mom and dad each get, so my sister and brother-in-law will each get a gift as well. So I'm going to share all of those projects throughout 2 podcasts, so you'll see half of those today and half of them during the next podcast. I have a work in progress to share with you. Okay, so this is the Nurtured Sweater by Andrea Mowry, and I have almost all of the first sleeve completed. I've got a good few inches, a couple of inches to go on this one, but I love the texture of this stitch. It's like kind of I don't even know how I would describe this texture. It's with slip stitches, so it makes this really cool kind of 3D graphic texture. And the yarn I use is a really rustic yarn. It's actually Knit Picks. I have the ball band here. Simply Wool in the colorway Wallace, and I believe it's actually undyed, so it's a natural wool color. And it is 100%, they call it 100% eco wool, so I think that usually means it's a blend of sheep. It's not necessarily just one sheep. But it gives it a really nice rustic feeling, which I think is really cool for this sweater. The sweater, if you haven't seen it, is kind of it's a cropped sweater with long sleeves. And this stitch pattern continues on both the sleeves and the body. This is kind of the texture of the pattern. So I wanted something in this color. Actually, I really like the color of this, just kind of like a taupey brown color to go with a skirt of mine, which is one of those skirts that has buttons all the way down the front of it, and it's just below the knee. I thought it would be really, really cute. It's one of those things that I knit because I knew how I wanted to style it. That doesn't always happen for me. Sometimes I knit something and then style it after, but this one was definitely the styling came first, and I wanted the sweater to meet my needs. So I'm really enjoying the knit. I would actually say, I don't know if it's the yarn or the stitch, but it's a little bit grinding on my wrist. I've been experiencing just like a little bit of pain in the outside of my wrist because I knit a lot. So I think with the combination of just the motion of the stitch as well as the yarn, it's not overly elastic. It's just causing me a little bit of discomfort, and because of that, it's kind of been a slower progress for me. Speaking of progress, I do have a little progress keeper that I made. I just have like it's actually a little mermaid. I don't know if you can see that, it's probably too far away, but it's a mermaid with a little lobster claw that I like to keep on my projects. Just kind of a little bit of yarn jewelry. So that's fun. I'm using Hiya needles in size 8. So these are I have an interchangeable set. I love Hiya needles. I would use them on everything. In fact, I usually do. So I'm really enjoying the knit of that. And I'm using obviously a magic loop construction for this sleeve. And then I think the body, I will be able to just knit in the round and not have to do that. So overall, I'm really enjoying this, and I'm looking forward to having that finished. The next project I want to show you is actually not a knit project, but it was born out of a knit project. So I have a dear friend who is into pottery, and she's been making these beautiful mugs and bowls, and I messaged her and I was like, hey, do you want to do a swap with me? Because I would love to have some of your pottery. So we worked out a swap, and I knit her the shawl that I showed on the podcast previously, the Sweet Soul shawl by Tammy Gore. And I sent her that, and she sent me a yarn bowl that is just so beautiful. I love the glaze on here. It's so beautiful. It's just like so meticulously done. I've never thrown pottery or anything aside from elementary school art class. So I love pottery. I think it's beautiful. I love the look of it and the shape of this bowl. And I just love the work that she did. And again, the glaze on it is just super cool. It's like a total natural color, but it has these like little teal places peeking through, little aqua, seafoamy greens underneath the copper. It's really, really gorgeous and really special to me. I'll probably keep little yarn ends in here if I'm not using it as a traditional like yarn bowl, which of course I can because it has this nice little cutout where you can feed your yarn in and put the yarn cake in here. So this is definitely a prized addition to my knitting experience and my knitting collection, and I am so happy that we did this swap, and I love this so much. Okay, so the first knit finished object I'm going to show is part of the presents that I'm sending to my sister who's about to have a baby. She lives in Austria, so I'm sending all of these presents over when my mom goes, and she leaves in a couple of days actually. So the first one that I have are these tiny, tiny, tiny socks. These are called the Baby Mitten Socks by Barbra Prime. And I mean, they're only meant to fit a newborn, obviously. They're not going to fit for very long. However, they're just so cute, so I couldn't resist. It's a 2x2 rib up at the top, and then the 2x2 rib actually continues down the top of the foot. And then of course the bottom of the foot is just stockinette. The construction is actually a heel flap and gusset, so that's the teeniest, tiniest heel flap and gusset you've ever seen. But the reason I made these socks is because it's in the same yarn that I knit my sister a pair of socks in, so the newborn baby and the mom will have matching socks. Who doesn't love that? This is my own hand-dyed yarn. It's a one-of-a-kind skein. It doesn't have a name. It's just kind of a green, blue. My sister loves anything blue and green, so these will be perfect for her and for the baby, and I can't wait to see a picture of them in matching socks. It'll be just so cute. Next, I have the ear flap hat by Purl Soho, and I actually made two of these. I made one for the brand new baby and one for the older child who's going to be 3 in January. Both of them look huge. I don't know what I did exactly, but I made the newborn size, and then, so the way the pattern is newborn and maybe 3 to 6 months and 6 to 12 months, and then there's just kid small and kid large. So I did the newborn size and the kid small, and I would say that the newborn size looks to me like it's going to be too big for a newborn, but it would probably work for that whole first winter. It's a September baby, so it'll be small throughout the winter, so it'll be good to have these warm clothes for the winter, and you can grow into it. I used Madelinetosh Sport yarn, and I don't have the ball band, so I don't know the colorway, unfortunately. If I find the colorway, I will let you know what that is right here. But it's a really beautiful, like rich brown with some coppery undertones in it. And the hat itself is knit top down. So you cast on a small number of stitches and then increase the crown and then knit down. Then you bind off a few stitches and make one ear flap, and then pick up the or bind off more and then pick up the remaining stitches for the second ear flap, and then finish with an I-cord and tassel. So it's really, really cute. I'm very pleased with that. And of course, Oscar, the older boy, needs to have a matching one. So this is the hat that looks huge to me. Like, I think a small-headed adult could wear this hat. But maybe it'll just be floppy. I don't know. We'll call it on purpose. This one I did intentionally have longer I-cords on, because that way you can actually tie this under the chin a little bit and secure the hat. I think that'll be a nicer feature for an older child. It's the same yarn, obviously same construction, just a different size. So I am very obviously into matching. I've got the matching socks for the baby and mom, matching hats for the boys. It's just gonna be cute. I knit things for people only for the pictures that they will send me. And the last finished object that I have to show you are just so cute. These are called Willum's overalls by Petite Knits. And it's kind of hard to show you, but here's the whole project. They have these darling little straps that actually unbutton. So they unbutton, and then the baby goes in here, and this is all ribbing stitch, so it's really nice and stretchy. You can get it up over a diaper or whatever, and then the straps crisscross in the back and button, and it is just one of the cutest things I've ever knit. Obviously it's the same colorway, same yarn as the hats, which I think is really a nice yarn. It's got a nice construction. It's really tightly spun, so it is strong. It's a strong yarn rather than overly soft. It's merino, so it's definitely soft, but it has a nice spin to it, so I think the items will be more durable, which I think is a really good thing, especially for babies. And it is superwash, so you could get away with throwing this in the washing machine. I don't know, I just get nervous about that, especially things with like buttons. The hats I think definitely could go in like on a gentle cycle, but I would personally hand wash these. I think they would last longer, but obviously the yarn does say that it is superwash, so you can definitely get away with that. Word about the pattern itself. This is knit bottom up. So you start with one leg and then the other leg, join the legs, knit the body, and you knit all the way up. The back comes up almost as high as the front, so I'm not sure if you can see this actually because it's such a dark yarn, but I would say that the front comes up about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches higher than the back. So then when you get to that point, you knit back and forth. And then there's actually a little flap that folds over. So it folds over here and then you seam it together, which I'm really pleased with that, because from the outside, sometimes when you seam something that way, you would get like a really distinct line here. I tried to really do that loosely so it would still stretch with the ribbing, and I'm pleased with that. It still is nice and stretchy and looks like a really nice finish. The buttons are wooden buttons that I got from Etsy. I'm not sure exactly on the seller, unfortunately, but just secured those to the front there, and I think really, really looks good. It's a really nice finish, I'm really pleased with this, and I think it'll be really cute on the baby, of course. So those are all of my finished objects this week, and I hope you've enjoyed that. The next segment, I actually have a very special guest to join me, and it is my mom. We're going to be talking a little bit about sewing and her history of craft.
Good.
Okay, so this is my mom. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Mom.
My mom is named Jill, if you don't want to call her Mom. But, okay, so Mom, I want to talk a little bit about your crafting background. So, how did that begin?
I'm trying to remember the first time I started. I believe sewing was really my very first thing. When I was in grade school with the 4-H club, I started learning to sew. My mother, your grandmother, was always a seamstress and did a lot of needlework.
Cross stitch and...
She did not do cross stitch, but embroidery.
Oh.
So very fine stitch, meticulous embroidery. She did that, and my grandmother and her sisters were very much into very fine stitchery, and I mean perfect stitches. So when I started doing that in high school, I tried to be perfect. And for a while I was. But these days, now that I'm starting to do it again, I don't have the patience to be quite as perfect as I used to be. That's not maybe good or bad, it just is.
So there's the knitters of the world differentiate between a product and a process knitter. So there are some knitters who really just enjoy every single stitch and love to knit because it's an enjoyable experience. And then there's another type of person who is knitting because they want the end product. So they want the knitwear. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes, depending on which one you are, you're more or less likely to correct a mistake, for example, or something like that.
I see.
Do you relate to that?
I do relate to that. And when I was in high school and then in college, because I majored in clothing and merchandising, so I actually took clothing construction courses, and I had to be very focused on perfection, so process, and also the product. Mm-hmm. So I can relate to that. Now that I'm doing it more for pleasure, I'm probably more product oriented than process. Mm-hmm. Because I let perfect stitch size and width go a little bit.
Yeah, it's just more about the experience of it's nice to do it, but you really want like that finished item.
Yeah. Now, when I make garments, like I've made a couple of garments for you, it's very important to me that they look nice on you. But I might not worry about something that shows on the inside that isn't perfect. So.
Yeah, I get that. And then when I grew up and we did a lot of crafts, I remember doing a lot of different crafts as a kid, and I specifically remember Beady Buddies. Do you remember those?
Yes.
So
those were fun.
I'm not sure if that was like a popular thing or just something we found, or I have no idea.
Well, it was definitely popular in our neighborhood. A lot of kids did it. Yeah. So I don't know if it was all over or if it was just a Midwestern thing.
I don't know. Did you do Beady Buddies? They were made out of beads, so like the big child plastic beads that you think of, or that I think of as like a kid art project. But then you would kind of follow a pattern and string them on to this like lanyard, I guess, cord.
Or keychain.
Yeah, and you make them into keychains and put them on your backpack, and you were cool. So I distinctly remember doing a lot of those.
Yes, I'd forgotten all about that till you just brought it up.
And then I remember like sewing. You helped me make my was it homecoming?
Yes.
My homecoming dress.
It's beautiful.
It was really pretty, and I was like, I remember we got a pattern from probably like Joann's or something.
Yes.
And pretty much followed the pattern, but then I wanted to like do a couple of different things, and that's where you came into play, because I'm not really a fine sewer by any means, so it was really fun. But I'm glad you were there.
It was really fun. It was gorgeous.
Yeah, it was pretty. Maybe I can find a picture for the podcast. I don't know where those are. They're probably actual pictures, not digital.
There are. I think I know where there's one.
Yeah. So, Mom brought a finished object to show today.
Yes. This is a Dimensions Craft product. It comes in a kit where all the pieces are either marked on felt or already cut out for you, and it's, for some reason, very therapeutic for me. It's almost like adult coloring because I don't draw it myself, but I cut the pieces out and then stitch them together and then add sequins and embroidery stitches.
It's so pretty.
And I started doing this when my first child was born. I made her a stocking. And then Allie, being my second daughter, it took me a while, like 28 years before she got one.
I got it at 28.
But the first grandchild has one, and he's almost 3, so it's not like I'm like right on their birth or anything. But this is Oscar's. I can't wait for him to see it. And it, the reason I like this for him is because he lives in Austria, and this particular kit has an ornament that Santa is holding that is supposedly North America, but it's a little deformed. But I really like that because we're in North America and he's in Austria. And then I did add a little heart right there in the heartland so that he'll remember we're over here loving him.
I think he'll really love that.
And the only thing I did different is I added a muslin lining on the back side of the front because I had so many stitches on the inside of that felt that I thought, as Oscar reaches in for his little gifts, I didn't want him to get a hold of those stitches. So
I think that's really a nice like finishing piece. So I hope you can see that it like hides the back or the inside of the exactly what you said, the inside of the front. Yeah, and it just makes it look, it's like richer.
It does look more finished.
For sure. It's really nice. And it's so cute. So cute. There's little Santa. I think he'll really like the tactile, like you can feel the little pom-pom, and the globe ornament like it's connected but it's loose, so it can be lifted. It's really, really cute. You did a very good job, and it's very meticulous looking.
Oh, thank you.
You recently retired, so do you think that was your kind of like surgence of crafting again?
Absolutely. I've done a lot more since I retired. It's so nice to have the time to do it again.
Yeah. Like make me clothes, for example.
It's been really fun to do that.
It's been very fun for me too. So what's next for you crafting wise? What do you plan?
With a new baby coming, Oscar's little brother, I'm thinking I better get started on that so that he'll have it before he's 28. Also, okay, before the next baby's stocking, I need to finish a jumper I made for Allie. The thing is, I measured her to the pattern, but I think the neck and armholes are too tight. I'm sure they are because we tried it on. So then I cut them bigger, and now I'm going to use seam binding to finish them, and I've been procrastinating because I'm afraid it's not going to look right, but we'll see.
Well, if it doesn't, we can just turn it into a skirt.
Or dust claws.
Yeah, or dust claws. So I've knit for you. So you sew for me and I've knit for you. I have a favorite thing that you've sewed for me. It would be the blue wrap dress that you made me. I think that's so beautiful. Do you have a favorite thing that I've knit for you?
without a doubt, the replacement scarf that you made me. Actually, the favorite thing she knitted for me was a beautiful scarf that I immediately lost in an airport, and I have mourned that. But she made me another one, thankfully. I love putting the scarves on and feeling the love, you know. Well, this was my daughter.
And they're actually shawls, so they're like the deeper, they cover more. So I don't particularly like to make scarves.
Oh. Shawl.
You wear them like scarves, so yeah. Yeah, that one was a pretty one. Cool. Well, do you have any other crafting wisdom to depart on us?
No. Just keep crafting. It's good for the soul.
It is. I think it's good for the mind. Keeps you from getting into trouble.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I have my Cozy Memories blanket here, and each square is, most of these yarns have been used for a project. Not all of them, some of them are just little mini skeins that I had, but a lot of these are left over from a project that I have. So I want you to knit one stitch into my Cozy Memories blanket.
Okay, but what if I mess it up?
That's okay.
All right.
So we poke in, so we want to like get in between the legs of the stitch there, so it like opens it up.
Okay.
And then we wrap it around and we pull it through.
Okay.
And then come off. So again, we poke in, wrap it around, pull through, and up.
Okay, so you're gonna walk me through that as I'm doing it, right?
Yes, because.
Okay.
So you're gonna poke this needle
Now,
in.
where do I put this? On the outside of my hand, or?
Yeah, you can just anywhere that's
Okay.
comfortable.
Okay. Ooh. So I poke here,
Uh-huh. Yep.
and now I forgot.
And now we're gonna wrap this around.
Okay. How do you remember to go that way?
It's just the rhythm. And now I'm gonna keep this tight and you're gonna pull it through to the front.
And if I was doing it myself, I'd keep it tight with my 2 other fingers.
Yeah.
Oops. See?
Ooh. Good. And now this stitch comes off of the first
Is it too
needle.
loose though?
No, it's fine.
Oh,
This.
whoops, did I miss it?
Nope. Slide it all the way up.
I don't have the finger dexterity, I don't think.
You do. There you go.
Whoa! See, this is why I'm amazed at how neat your work always is, because it's hard to keep that all tight.
I know, it's hard.
And the same amount of tension. That's really not easy. This is why I don't nap.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Bye. I've never knitted.
Never knit. Never. Did you wish that knitting was actually nat, the past tense? I've never nat.
Yes. And then I would say I've never nat.